Olivia Bennett stood at the entrance of the Silverstone vineyard, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her small evening bag. The sun was setting over the rolling hills of Napa Valley, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose gold. It should have been beautiful. It should have taken her breath away. Instead, all she felt was the tight knot in her stomach that had been growing since she received the invitation. 3 months ago, she was attending her ex-fiancé's wedding. Olivia had built a respectable career as an architect, specializing in sustainable housing. She spent her days designing homes for families who needed them, pouring her heart into blueprints and construction plans. Her work was her refuge, her purpose. But tonight, dressed in a simple emerald dress that her sister had insisted made her eyes sparkle, she felt like a fraud stepping into a world that had rejected her. The ceremony of broken dreams. The ceremony took place in a garden overlooking the vineyards. White chairs lined a stone pathway, and an archway covered in roses marked where Ryan would soon stand with his bride. Olivia found a seat near the back, hoping to remain invisible. Around her, guests chatted excitedly, their voices carrying notes of champagne-fueled joy. Ryan appeared first, looking exactly as she remembered him. Tall, with sandy hair and an easy smile that had once made her believe in forever. He had been her college sweetheart. The man who proposed to her on a rainy Tuesday in their cramped apartment, promising they would build a life together. But when his family business began to struggle, and Vanessa Whitmore entered his life with her family's fortune and connections, everything changed. The bride floated down the aisle in a gown that probably cost more than Olivia's yearly rent. Vanessa was beautiful, polished, everything that screamed old money and social status. Olivia watched as Ryan took her hand, his face glowing with happiness. She told herself she was over him. She told herself that the ache in her chest was just wounded pride, not heartbreak. She almost believed it. Whispers and judgment, the reception moved to an elegant ballroom within the estate. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in ivory silk. A live band played soft jazz as waiters circulated with trays of champagne and delicate appetizers. Olivia found her assigned table near the edge of the room, a subtle reminder that she was not really welcome here. She had come because of Jennifer, Ryan's cousin and Olivia's former best friend. Jennifer had begged her to attend, insisting it would show Ryan that Olivia had moved on, that she was happy. But sitting alone while couples swirled around her, Olivia felt anything but happy. The whispers started almost immediately. "Is that Ryan's ex?" She came alone. How awkward. I heard she could not compete when Vanessa came into the picture. Each comment was like a tiny cut, shallow but stinging. Olivia kept her expression neutral, sipping her water and pretending to be fascinated by the floral centerpiece. She calculated how long she needed to stay before leaving would be acceptable. Another hour? Maybe 2. She could survive that. The stranger's proposal, then someone sat down beside her. Olivia glanced over, startled. The man was striking in a way that made her breath catch. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, his dark hair swept back. And his eyes were an unusual shade of blue-green that seemed to see right through her. There was an intensity about him, presence that commanded attention even in a room full of wealthy, powerful people. He did not ask permission. He simply settled into the chair as though he belonged there, as though he had been sitting beside her all evening. "Pretend we know each other," he said quietly, his voice low and smooth. Olivia blinked. "Excuse me?" "The people at the next table have been staring at you for the past 10 minutes. They are whispering. If you want them to stop, smile at me like we share a secret." Her first instinct was to refuse, to tell this presumptuous stranger to leave her alone. But when she glanced toward the neighboring table, she saw exactly what he described. 3 women were leaning together, their eyes flicking toward her with barely concealed curiosity and judgment. Something inside her snapped. Pride, defiance, or perhaps just exhaustion from trying to hold herself together. She turned back to the stranger and offered a small smile. "Why would you help me?" she asked, his lips curved slightly. "Because I need help too. My aunt has been trying to introduce me to eligible women all evening. If she thinks I am with someone, she will stop." It was absurd. It was reckless. But when Olivia looked into those unusual eyes, She saw something unexpected. Understanding. This man, whoever he was, knew what it felt like to be under scrutiny, to have people watching and judging every move. "What is your name?" she asked Nathan Sterling. The name registered immediately. Everyone in California knew Sterling Enterprises. It's the real estate development company that had transformed skylines across the state. Nathan Sterling was a billionaire, a business legend, and according to the gossip magazines her sister read, one of the most eligible bachelors in the country. And he was sitting beside her. Offering to play pretend, the performance begins. Nathan reached for the wine bottle on the table and poured a glass, sliding it toward her with easy familiarity. To anyone watching, it looked like a gesture between two people comfortable with each other. "Relax," he murmured. "Just follow my lead." Olivia wrapped her fingers around the stem of the glass, her heart racing. Across the room, she caught sight of Ryan standing with Vanessa, greeting guests. For just a moment, his eyes found hers. His smile faltered when he saw Nathan beside her. The shift was immediate. Ryan's expression flickered with something that might have been surprise, or perhaps regret. Olivia felt a rush of vindication, followed quickly by guilt. This was petty. This was childish. But it also felt wonderful. Nathan leaned closer, his shoulder brushing hers. "The groom is watching. Should I assume he is the reason you look like you would rather be anywhere else?" Olivia's cheeks flushed. That obvious? Only to someone paying attention. A waiter approached with appetizers, and Nathan engaged him in brief conversation. "Okay," ordering for both of them with casual authority. When the waiter left, Nathan turned back to her. "Tell me about yourself, Olivia Bennett." She startled. "How do you know my name?" "I made it my business to know before I sat down." "You are an architect. You specialize in affordable housing projects. You won an award last year for a community development in Oakland." Olivia stared at him, caught between flattery and suspicion. "You researched me in 5 minutes? I am efficient." His eyes held a hint of amusement. "And I prefer to know who I am aligning myself with, even temporarily." The band shifted to a waltz, and couples began moving toward the dance floor. Nathan stood, extending his hand. "Dance with me." It was not a question. Olivia hesitated, every logical part of her brain screaming that this was madness. But she placed her hand in his and let him lead her to the floor. The dance changed everything. Nathan's hand settled at her waist, warm and steady. He moved with confidence, guiding her through the steps with practiced ease. Olivia had always been a decent dancer, but she felt clumsy next to his grace. "Breathe," he instructed softly. "You are thinking too much." She tried to relax, letting her body follow his lead. Gradually, the tension in her shoulders eased. They moved together in sync, and the ballroom seemed to blur around them. "Why are you really doing this?" Olivia asked, her voice barely audible over the music. Nathan's expression remained unreadable. "Does it matter?" "Yes." He was quiet for a moment, his eyes searching hers. "Because you looked like someone who needed a lifeline, and I understand what that feels like." There was something raw in his voice, something that suggested depths she had not expected. Olivia found herself leaning into him slightly, drawn by the unexpected honesty. When the song ended, applause rippled through the room. Nathan stepped back but kept her hand in his. "The performance was convincing," she whispered. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. "Who said I was performing?" Before she could respond, Jennifer appeared at her elbow, eyes wide with curiosity. "Olivia, you did not tell me you were bringing someone." Olivia opened her mouth, but Nathan smoothly interjected. It was meant to be a surprise. Jennifer looked between them, clearly delighted. "Well, you certainly surprised everyone. Ryan has been watching you all evening." After Jennifer left, Olivia turned to Nathan. "This is getting complicated." "Complicated can be useful," he replied. "Besides, the night is almost over. You will never see me again after this." But even as he said it, Olivia felt a strange certainty that this was not the end. Something had shifted in the space between them, something neither of them could name but both could feel. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Nathan walked her to the parking area. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of grapes and earth. "Thank you," Olivia said, meaning it. Tonight could have been unbearable. Nathan studied her face in the moonlight. Perhaps we both needed saving. He opened her car door, and for a moment, they stood close enough that Olivia could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Goodbye." Olivia Bennett. She slid into her car, watching as he walked away toward a sleek black vehicle. As she drove home through the dark vineyards, her mind replayed every moment. The stranger who had appeared from nowhere. The dance that felt too real. The way her heart had forgotten to guard itself. Tomorrow, she would return to her normal life. Tomorrow. Nathan Sterling would be nothing but a memory, or so she thought. 5 days passed before Olivia saw Nathan Sterling again. 5 days in which she threw herself into work trying to forget this strange evening at the vineyard. She told herself it had been a moment out of time, a brief fantasy that belonged to someone else's life. Not hers. She was reviewing blueprints for a low-income housing project when her assistant, Monica, appeared in the doorway of her small office. Looking flustered. "Olivia, there is someone here to see you." "He does not have an appointment, but he says it is important." Olivia glanced up, ready to politely decline. Her schedule was packed with meetings about the Riverside development, a project that would provide homes for 30 families currently living in substandard conditions. She had no time for unexpected visitors. Then Nathan Sterling walked into her office, and the air seemed to shift. He wore a navy suit today, looking as composed and commanding as he had at the wedding. But there was something different in his expression, a purposefulness that made Olivia's pulse quicken. "Mr. Sterling," she managed, standing up. "This is unexpected. Hope I am not interrupting," he said, though his tone suggested he did not particularly care if he was. "I need to speak with you, privately." Monica glanced between them, curiosity written all over her face. Olivia nodded, and her assistant reluctantly closed the door. The proposal Nathan did not waste time with pleasantries. He moved to the window overlooking the busy street below, hands in his pockets. "Our performance at the wedding was noticed," he began. "More than I anticipated. Photos of us dancing appeared in several society columns. My publicist received dozens of inquiries about my mysterious companion." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I'm sorry if that caused you trouble," he turned to face her. "It did not cause trouble. It caused opportunity." She frowned, not understanding. Nathan moved closer, his presence filling her small office. "Sterling Enterprises is finalizing a major merger with Hartley Industries. The board has concerns about my image. They see me as too focused on business, lacking personal connections. They worry it affects my judgment, makes me seem cold and unapproachable." "You want me to help you seem warmer?" Olivia asked, disbelief coloring her voice. "I want you to continue what we started. A relationship. Public enough to satisfy the board and the media, private enough to remain on our terms." Olivia sat down heavily in her chair. "You are asking me to fake a relationship with you. I am asking you to be my companion at events. Dinners, galas, business functions. Nothing more complicated than what we did at the wedding." She shook her head. "That was one night. You are talking about something ongoing." "Yes." "Why me?" "You could hire an actress, someone trained for this." Nathan's eyes held hers. "Because actresses want the spotlight. They want to leverage the connection for their own careers. You have your own life, your own work. You are not interested in being famous. That authenticity is exactly what I need." Olivia stood up, agitation making her restless. "This is insane. I have a career, responsibilities. I cannot just drop everything to play girlfriend to a billionaire." "I am not asking you to drop anything. Your work would continue. I would simply need you for specific occasions, perhaps twice a month. And what do I get from this arrangement?" The question came out sharper than she intended. The offer. She cannot refuse. Nathan reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder, placing it on her desk. Olivia opened it, her eyes widening as she scanned the documents inside. "That is a grant proposal," Nathan said. $5 million for affordable housing development. Enough to fund 3 projects the size of your Riverside development." Olivia's hands trembled slightly as she held the papers. $5 million. She could help hundreds of families. She could create safe, beautiful homes for people who had been forgotten by everyone else. "You are bribing me," she whispered. "I am offering you resources to do what you already want to do. The funding comes through the Sterling Foundation. It is legitimate, transparent. The only condition is that you agree to 6 months of public appearances with me." She looked up at him, searching his face for signs of manipulation or deceit. But his expression remained steady, almost neutral. "Why does this matter so much to you?" she asked. "Why go to such lengths?" For the first time, something flickered in Nathan's eyes. Vulnerability, perhaps, or old pain, because I've built Sterling Enterprises from nothing. I spent 15 years creating something that matters, something that provides jobs and homes and opportunities. I will not let it be dismantled because a board of directors thinks I need a personal life to be effective. There was steel in his voice, but also something deeper. Pride, certainly, but also fear. He was afraid of losing what he had built. Olivia understood that feeling. She had poured everything into her work too, using it to fill spaces in her life that remained empty. 6 months, she said slowly, and then we end it cleanly. No drama, no mess. Agreed. And I maintain control over my schedule. If something conflicts with my work comes first. Reasonable. She took a deep breath. And no lies beyond the public appearances. In private, we are honest with each other. Nathan extended his hand. Deal. Olivia stared at his hand for a long moment. She was about to step into something that could change everything, but the thought of those families, the children who would have safe homes, the mothers who would not have to choose between rent and food, that thought pushed her forward. She shook his hand. The first public appearance 3 days later. Olivia found herself standing in front of her bathroom mirror, trying to calm her racing heart. Tonight was the Charity Arts Gala, one of the most prestigious events in the city. Nathan had sent a stylist to her apartment that afternoon, a woman named Claudia who transformed. Olivia's closet with an array of designer options. The dress she wore now was midnight blue silk that flowed like water, elegant without being ostentatious. Claudia had styled her hair in soft waves and applied makeup that enhanced rather than masked. "You look like yourself." "Only more so," Claudia had said with approval now. As a black car pulled up outside her building, Olivia wondered if she looked like someone pretending to be herself. Be herself. Nathan emerged from the car, and her breath caught. He wore a black tuxedo that fit him perfectly, his dark hair styled back, his unusual eyes bright in the streetlight. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Clean up well too," she replied, trying for lightness. The drive to the museum where the gala was being held passed in comfortable silence. Nathan seemed lost in thought, his fingers drumming lightly against his knee. "Nervous?" Olivia asked. He glanced at her, surprised. "Should I be? You are about to parade a fake girlfriend in front of your business associates. Seems nerve-wracking." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I have closed deals worth hundreds of millions. I think I can manage one evening." Under the spotlight, the museum was stunning, its grand hall filled with sculptures and paintings illuminated by soft lighting. Guests mingled with champagne glasses, their laughter and conversation creating a sophisticated buzz. The moment Olivia and Nathan entered, heads turned. She felt the weight of dozens of eyes assessing her, judging her, wondering who she was and what she meant to Nathan Sterling. Nathan's hand settled at the small of her back, warm and steadying. He guided her through the crowd with ease, introducing her to business partners, board members, and influential donors. Each time, he presented her simply. "This is Olivia Bennett. She is an architect working on sustainable housing projects. No embellishment, no false claims, just the truth presented with quiet pride." What surprised Olivia was how people responded. They asked genuine questions about her work, seemed interested in the Riverside development. Several offered business cards, suggesting connections that might help her projects. Nathan stayed close throughout the evening, attentive without being possessive. When someone monopolized the conversation, he smoothly redirected. When Olivia needed a moment to breathe, he seemed to sense it, guiding her toward quieter corners. "You are good at this," she murmured during one such respite. "At what?" "Reading people. Knowing what they need." He studied her for a moment. "It is a survival skill. When you grow up with nothing, you learn to watch, to listen, to understand what people want before they ask." It was the first personal thing he had shared, and Olivia found herself hungry for more. Cracks in the facades the evening progressed. They found themselves in the sculpture garden, slightly removed from the main crowd. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of jasmine from nearby planters. "Can I ask you something?" Olivia said, emboldened by the champagne and the intimacy of the quiet space. Nathan nodded. "Why did you really approach me at the wedding?" "The truth, not the convenient answer." He was quiet for so long that she thought he might not answer. Then he spoke, his voice low. "I saw you sitting alone, surrounded by people who were judging you, and I recognized that feeling. When I was building Sterling Enterprises, I attended events where everyone dismissed me because I did not come from money, did not have the right connections. They looked at me the way those people looked at you. Like I did not belong." Olivia's throat tightened. "So you were rescuing yourself as much as me, perhaps." They stood in silence, something unspoken passing between them. The arrangement they had made was supposed to be simple, transactional. But standing here in the moonlight, Olivia felt the lines beginning to blur. A photographer appeared, camera raised. Nathan instinctively drew Olivia closer, his arms circling her waist. She leaned into him, and the flash went off, capturing them in a moment that looked entirely real, because it was starting to feel real. The media stormed the next morning. Olivia woke to dozens of messages on her phone. The photo from the gala had gone viral. Every major society blog and news outlet had picked it up, speculating about Nathan Sterling's mysterious new girlfriend. Billionaire developer finally opens his heart. Who is Olivia Bennett? The woman who captured Nathan Sterling love blooms at charity gala. The headlines were absurd, overblown. But they were everywhere. Monica called her at 7 in the morning, practically shouting with excitement. "Olivia, you were all over the internet. Why did you not tell me you were dating Nathan Sterling?" "It is complicated," Olivia managed, still processing the flood of attention. Her phone rang again. This time, it was Nathan. "I am sending a car to pick you up," he said without preamble. "We need to talk about managing the media attention." An hour later, she sat in Nathan's downtown office, a space of glass and steel with panoramic views of the city. His publicist, a sharp woman named Rebecca, was explaining the strategy. "The key is controlled visibility. We feed them enough to satisfy curiosity without giving them ammunition. Olivia, you will need to be prepared for photographers for questions. Some outlets will try to dig into your past." Olivia felt a chill. What will they find? "A normal life," Nathan interjected. "Which is perfect. You are not hiding anything. You are simply private," Rebecca nodded. "Exactly. We frame you as the grounded, accomplished woman who finally made Nathan see beyond business. It is a good narrative." As Rebecca left to take a phone call, Olivia turned to Nathan. "This feels bigger than I anticipated." He moved to stand beside her at the window. "If you want to back out, tell me now. I will find another way." She should say yes. She should walk away before this became too complicated, too real. But she thought of the families waiting for homes, the children who deserved better, and she thought of Nathan, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. Looking at her with those eyes that seemed to see everything. "I am not backing out," she said. "But we need to be careful. This arrangement works only if we remember what it is." His voice was soft, almost challenging. Olivia met his gaze. Business. Nothing more. But even as she said the words, she felt the lie in them. Because when Nathan smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes, her heart responded in a way that had nothing to do with business. The shifting ground over the following weeks. Olivia and Nathan fell into a rhythm. Dinners at exclusive restaurants where they talked about architecture and real estate development. Gallery openings where they stood close, his hand always finding hers. Charity events where they played their roles so well that even Olivia sometimes forgot they were playing. Her work flourished. The funding from the Sterling Foundation, allowed her to break ground on 2 new projects. She hired additional staff, expanded her firm's capabilities. Everything she had dreamed of was becoming reality. But late at night, alone in her apartment, she would remember moments that did not fit the arrangement. The way Nathan listened when she talked about her designs, genuinely interested. How he remembered she preferred tea to coffee and always ordered it for her. The time he sent flowers to her office. Not for show, but simply because he had passed a vendor and thought she would like them. These were not the actions of someone pretending, and her own responses frightened her. The way her pulse jumped when his name appeared on her phone. How she found herself thinking about him during meetings, wondering what he would say about a particular design challenge. The warmth that spread through her chest when he smiled at something she said. She was falling, and she did not know how to stop. 2 months into their arrangement, Nathan invited Olivia to his home for the first time. Not for a public event, but for a private dinner. "I thought we could take a break from performing," he had said over the phone. "Just 2 people having a meal." His house was in Pacific Heights, a modern masterpiece of glass and stone that overlooked the bay. Olivia had designed buildings, understood architecture intimately, but stepping into Nathan's space felt like stepping into his mind. Everything was precise, elegant, carefully controlled, until she noticed the photographs. They lined one wall of his study. Black and white images of construction sites, buildings in progress, workers covered in dust but smiling. These were Nathan's projects, captured not in their finished glory, but in their raw, honest creation. "You took these?" she asked, studying a photo of an elderly man laying bricks. Nathan appeared beside her, 2 glasses of wine in his hands. "Photography was my first love, before business consumed everything." "They are beautiful. They show the humanity in construction." He handed her a glass, his fingers brushing hers. "Most people see buildings as objects. You see them as homes. I've always admired that." They moved to the dining room, where Nathan had prepared dinner himself. Olivia was surprised to discover he was an excellent cook. The meal simple, but perfectly executed. "Another hidden talent," she teased. "When you grow up poor, you learn to cook or you do not eat well," he replied. Then seemed surprised he had shared that detail. The story he never told as they ate. The conversation drifted deeper than it ever had before. Nathan told her about his childhood, growing up in a trailer park with a single mother who worked 3 jobs. How he had started his first business at 16, buying rundown properties and fixing them up to sell. "People thought I was crazy," he said, staring into his wine. "Investing every penny I earned into buildings that looked ready to collapse. But I saw what they could become." "Like you see what I could become?" Olivia asked softly. His eyes met hers, and something passed between them that made her heart stutter. "No, I see what you already are." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Olivia set down her fork, her appetite forgotten. "Nathan, what are we doing?" He leaned back in his chair. "Having dinner, you know what I mean?" This stopped feeling like an arrangement weeks ago. For a long moment, he did not respond. Then he stood, moving to the window that overlooked the city lights. 6 years ago, I was engaged," he said quietly. "Her name was Carolyn. She was brilliant, funny, everything I thought I wanted. We were planning a wedding when she was diagnosed with cancer. Aggressive, fast-moving. She died 4 months later." "Nathan, I'm so sorry," he continued, as if he had not heard her. "After she died, I threw myself into work. Building, expanding, acquiring. I told myself that success would fill the emptiness. That if I built enough, achieved enough, the pain would fade." "Did it?" Olivia asked, though she already knew the answer. "No, it just made me good at pretending I was fine." He turned to face her. "Until I met you. Until I sat beside you at that wedding and saw someone else who was pretending." Olivia stood, moving toward him. "I was not pretending about Ryan. I really am over him. I think I have been for longer than I wanted to admit." "Then what were you pretending?" She took a shaky breath. "That I was okay being alone. That work was enough. That I did not want connection because connection meant risking pain." They stood face to face now, close enough that Olivia could see the silver flecks in his unusual eyes. "I am afraid," she whispered. This was supposed to be simple, I know. His hand came up, cupping her cheek. I am afraid too. The moment everything changed, he kissed her then, and it was nothing like the careful touches they had shared for cameras. This was raw, honest, desperate. Olivia's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and Nathan responded by wrapping his arms around her waist. Lifting her slightly, when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Olivia pressed her forehead to his. We cannot do this, she said, even as her body contradicted her words. Why not? Because when it ends, it will destroy me. Nathan pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. Who says it has to end? Before she could respond, his phone rang, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen and grimaced. Gah. I have to take this.
Alice.
He stepped into his study, and Olivia used the time to compose herself. Her lips still tingled from his kiss. Her heart raced. Everything had shifted, and she did not know if she was terrified or exhilarated. When Nathan returned, his expression was grave. There is a problem. The scandal breaks the next morning. Every news outlet carried the same story. An investigative journalist had uncovered the truth about Nathan and Olivia's relationship, that it had started as an arrangement, a business deal designed to improve Nathan's public image. The headlines were brutal, a Sterling's love hoax. Billionaire hires fake girlfriend Olivia Bennett, paid companion or gold digger? The great romance scam, how Nathan Sterling fooled everyone. Olivia sat in her apartment. Her phone ringing constantly, reporters camped outside her building. The Riverside development funding was in jeopardy. Board members were calling emergency meetings. Everything was falling apart. Nathan arrived at her door at noon, looking haggard. I am sorry, he said immediately. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. Olivia let him in, too exhausted to be angry. How did they find out? Someone from the wedding recognized the timing. They started digging, found financial records connecting the foundation grant to our first public appearance. The journalist put it together. She sank onto her couch. What happens now? My board wants me to issue a statement denying everything. Say it was all real from the beginning, that the journalist is lying. Is that what you want to do? Nathan sat beside her, his shoulders sagging. I do not know. The lie would protect us both. But I am tired of lying. Olivia looked at him, really looked at him. This man who had been so controlled, so careful, now looked vulnerable and lost. Tell me the truth, she said. What do you feel? The choice that matters. Nathan took her hands in his. When I approached you at that wedding, it was strategic. I saw an opportunity. The arrangement I proposed was purely business. But somewhere between that first dance and now, everything changed. You became the first person I wanted to talk to in the morning. The reason I looked forward to events I used to dread. You made me remember what it felt like to hope for something beyond the next deal. Tears pricked Olivia's eyes. That does not change what we did. We lied to everyone. Started with a lie. But what I feel now is the most honest thing in my life. She wanted to believe him. But the weight of public judgment pressed down on her. If you issue that statement, deny everything, we can move forward, she said. We can pretend this never happened. Is that what you want? Olivia stood, agitation making her restless. I do not know what I want. 2 months ago, I was fine alone. Now I am in love with you, and it terrifies me because I do not know if this is real or if we just got caught up in our own performance. The words hung in the air. She had said it. She was in love with him. Nathan stood, closing the distance between them. It is real. Every moment. Every feeling. Olivia, I love you. Not the idea of you, not the convenient solution you represented. You, the woman who fights for families others ignore, who sees beauty in blueprints, who makes me believe I can be more than what I have built. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. The scandal will ruin us both, then we face it together. I will tell the truth, all of it. How it started, why it started, and what it became. Let them judge. I do not care anymore. The grand gesture. 3 days later, Nathan called a press conference. Olivia stood backstage, her heart in her throat. As he stepped up to the podium, surrounded by cameras and reporters, I am here to address the recent allegations about my relationship with Olivia Bennett, he began, his voice steady. The reports are partially correct. Our relationship did begin as an arrangement. I needed to improve my public image for business reasons. She needed funding for housing projects. We made a deal. The room erupted in shouted questions, but Nathan raised his hand for silence. But what started as strategy became something neither of us expected. I fell in love with Olivia Bennett. Not because it was convenient, but because she is extraordinary. She challenges me, inspires me, makes me want to be better than I am. Yes, we started with deception, but what we have now is the most honest thing in my life. He turned toward the wings where Olivia stood, extending his hand. Olivia, if you will still have me after all this, I want to build something real. No arrangements, no performances, just us. The room fell silent. Every camera turned toward her. Olivia could walk away, protect herself from further scandal, or she could take his hand and face whatever came next together. She thought of the night at the vineyard, when a stranger sat beside her and offered a lifeline. She thought of every dinner, every conversation, every moment. When the pretense fell away and something true emerged, she stepped onto the stage and took his hand. Yes, she said simply. The room exploded. But standing there with Nathan, his hand warm and solid in hers, Olivia felt only peace. 1 year later, Olivia stood in the empty lot where the Riverside development had been completed 6 months earlier. 30 families now lived in beautiful, sustainable homes. Children played in the community garden. Parents gathered in the shared spaces she had designed. It was everything she had dreamed of. Admiring your work. Nathan's voice came from behind her. She turned, smiling. He looked relaxed in jeans and a casual shirt, so different from the controlled businessman she had first met. Always, she replied. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. Together they watched the community they had helped create. The scandal had been brutal. Sterling Enterprises lost the Hartley merger. Several board members resigned. Nathan's reputation took a significant hit. But he rebuilt, this time with Olivia at his side. They restructured Sterling Enterprises to focus more on affordable housing and sustainable development. It was less profitable but more meaningful. Olivia's firm had grown too. She now employed 12 architects and had projects in 3 cities. They had built something real, in business and in love. I have something for you, Nathan said. Pulling a rolled set of blueprints from his bag, Olivia unrolled them, her eyes widening. It was a house breathtaking in its simplicity and elegance. Modern, but warm. Sustainable, but luxurious. What is this? Our home. If you want, I thought you could design it and we could build it together. Something that is ours. She turned in his arms, tears threatening. You designed this. With help from your team? I wanted to surprise you. Olivia kissed him, deep and slow, pouring everything she felt into it. When she pulled back, she was smiling. What? It is perfect. We are perfect, Nathan laughed, the sound free and genuine. We are messy and complicated and built on a foundation of lies. That transformed into truth, she finished. The best kind of love story. They stood together as the sun set over the development. 2 people who had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances, who had started with deception but built something honest and lasting. Sometimes, the best love stories begin with a pretense. And sometimes, if you are brave enough to let the walls fall, that pretense becomes the most real thing you have ever known.